If for if for any reason, over the next couple weeks, you're like, oh fuck, like I said this, I didn't want to say that, and you need us to edit something out, just let me know and we'll gladly do that, okay?
Perfect. Sounds good.
Awesome. Hello, hello, kings and queens and everybody in between. I'm back. I know I've been hitting you guys heavy with the guests for 2024, but the North Node is in Aries right now, and Aries is the ruler of my 11th house, which is connection and friendship and community. So we're coming in strong with another amazing guest. I have been a fan of her work from afar for quite some time. I feel like you were one of the first witchy accounts that I started following before I like LLC'd my brand and business like 5, 6 years ago. Witchy Wisdoms has been up there for me. You all probably know Witchy Wisdoms as well. So I am so happy to have Shawn here as a guest on the Goddess Complex podcast. This one is for the witchy bays and for the business bays. I think we're going to talk a bit about that. So I'm excited. Let's dig into it. Shawn, and tell the people, where are you from? Who are you? How do you serve the community, darling?
Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I am a expert somatic shadow worker. I've
Mm,
been in this industry, as you said, for like 10 years now. So it's kind of like
yeah.
since the Stone Age in the Instagram.
For
Um,
sure.
so the business has morphed and shaped a lot. But as in terms of right now, which I know we're going to get into in detail, right now my business is fully somatic shadow work. So I
Yeah.
work with people in a 5-step method where we go even deeper than just the illumination that you get from prompts. So that's where I'm at.
And what part of the world are you in?
I'm in New York,
New York City?
New York City.
Oh, so you're pretty close to me. Good to know. Um, and then what are your big three?
Uh, all Scorpio,
Triple Scorpio.
sun, moon, rising,
Holy shit.
shadow work.
Friends, did you guys hear this? This is going to be such a great fucking episode. Oh my God, this just made me so excited. So number one, my partner has like 5 planets in Scorpio. And I'm a Sagittarius sun, Cancer rising, Aquarius moon. But I also have my black moon Lilith in Scorpio. And I didn't realize what a role Lilith would play in my world until I happened upon her, and I was intrigued to say the least. So, created the Lilith course, throwback to all of y'all who are listening that have been with me from the beginning. You all know the Lilith course. And really, Lilith has been a staple in my work and in my weight loss journey. And I didn't kind of realize, especially the weight loss piece, until like a couple months back, that when I started working with Lilith, I started getting serious about my weight. And I've been working with Lilith this whole time, and the shadows around my weight that I had never really confronted. And then as my weight came down, my money came up, my expansion came up, everything came up, the frequency came up, and it's absolutely nuts. Um, and I'm sure Starseed Shadows. I too am a shadow worker, so that I think this is going to be a really, really rich conversation. So normally I end with this question, but I'm being called to begin with this question. How do you define shadow work? What does shadow work mean to you?
Shadow work to me is the process of eliminating guilt and shame.
Mm,
We hold so much guilt and shame around so many different types of emotions that we have.
hmm
As humans, we have the ability to sort through these emotions. The only thing that really
hmm
separates us from animals, to be able
Yeah.
to cognitively understand what's happening in real time and then, make changes in order to
hmm
support what we actually desire, i.e. weight loss, which I have something to say about that too.
Oh,
but
yeah. Yeah.
but I mean, to me, yes, it is kind of creating the lines to childhood trauma, but like
hmm
it's the guilt and shame part.
Yeah.
And I
It's a
feel like a
big
lot of us
deal.
don't release that. And I know for me, especially because my weight has fluctuated throughout my entire life, I've had
Yeah.
disorders, I've had really
hmm
big issues around food. But doing
hmm
that work around my relationship with food has helped me lose weight, has helped me maintain
Right.
that weight loss. And
Yeah.
because I'm eliminating the guilt and shame around feeding my
Right. Right.
So I'm with you on that.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, I absolutely love that because I didn't realize one of the biggest reasons, and maybe I haven't mentioned this on the pod before, but one of the biggest reasons why I decided to go on this weight loss journey really had nothing to do with vanity. It had to do with this idea that my my biggest vulnerability, my place where like I didn't want anybody to see was how I truly felt about my weight and my body. And I knew that if I'm going to step into this arena of personal development and spiritual development, and then which later turns into business development for baby witches, but I didn't know that at the time. If I'm going to step into this arena, how can I help people move through their shadows if I'm not willing to see my own? And that was a very powerful in your face lesson I kind of had to learn. And that's really what started the whole thing. Meanwhile, I'm Lilith keeps coming in my universe, like articles keep popping up, the new Sabrina just dropped, like people are mentioning the deity Lilith, like everywhere in my universe, she just starts coming in like a bat out of hell. And I'm like, okay, and the Lilith course is the first one I created. And slowly but surely, I kind of realized, holy shit, this girl has been with me throughout this whole motherfucking ride. Do you work with deities at all?
I work with one. My matron goddess is Freya.
Yeah, Freya. Okay, great. Why?
She has always been a sort of mother figure to me. And she,
Mm-hmm.
the same way that Lilith showed up for you, Freya showed
Mm-hmm.
up for me. I mean, like slapping me across the face. And she first really entered my life when I got my orange cat.
Mm.
That's when I started to really feel her. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, she's been a really good constant for me ever since because I don't speak to my parents. They were very toxic for me. So Freya
Mm.
has definitely been a mother figure in my life that I lean on.
Did you have to draw some lines in the sand around your parents, create some strong boundaries that they didn't? So it was like, okay, no contact. That's the vibe.
Yep. Yeah, and
Yeah.
we just recently, um, I guess, tried to mend fences, and nothing's changed on their end. I'll
Right.
just say. So
Parents are
you know,
rough. Yeah, parents are rough. They're a rough topic, especially in the spiritual community, because I feel like, and you've been in the industry a long time, and I don't know if you looked me up or anything like that. So I've been reading tarot now. I got my first tarot deck when I was 17, started studying astrology around 14. So I've always been very attracted to the work. And I don't know about you, but I've never seen our work blow up as much as it's blowing up right now. Everybody and their mom is interested in shadow work, tarot, astrology, Akashic records, what are star seeds. They're very curious about understanding themselves through this spiritual lens. Um, and I've had conversations with other folks in the space, and some absolutely love it, some don't really love it because, you've got this TikTok generation pushing out incorrect information and stuff like that. How do you feel about this all of a sudden we're cool now. It's cool to be a mystic now. When before we were the weirdos and nobody could speak to us. I remember like hiding my tarot cards. It was a whole thing.
oh yes, we're out of the broom
We're out of the
closet.
broom
But
closet. Yeah.
I do have to say, because I've also been in the true crime realm for a while as
Yeah.
well. And in both spaces, for the entirety of my career, I've heard
Yeah.
be so popular now. And I feel like
Yeah.
whenever somebody gets
Interesting.
here, we get into our own little spiritual echo chamber. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we get our For You pages, we get this,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all our mystical content. But what I personally feel, especially for this certain surge with TikTok in particular, is because of this
Yeah.
unrest and complete like chaos. I mean, what are
Yeah.
events? Like, what are they like?
I know.
And I think when people
Like,
feel out
yeah.
of control and out of their body, they want to know who they are because certainty is king.
Certainty is king. I love that. I love that you brought up that point. I was just having a conversation with a client about this, about the millennials, man, we have seen some strange motherfucking times Like from the time that we came into this incarnation until literally today, at the time that we're recording this, the the history of events and what we have seen has truly imprinted on our collective psyche. But I feel like specifically the millennials, because when we were growing up and developing, we are seeing catastrophic events happen around the world. You know, the Second Depression, 9/11. We could go on and on and on and on and on. The first Black president, Bush is, I mean, we could go on. And most of us, speaking as an older millennial, I'm about to be 35, we're literally coming of age, I think is like the term, you know, which is a different POV than our parents, because they're adults kind of dealing with this. And the Gen Zers weren't really around, or they were babies. Why do you think that is?
Oh, so juicy. I have such a juicy
Mm-hmm.
history. Pluto and Scorpio generation. We are
Snap,
deep.
snap, 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 snaps.
So many revolutions, so many revelations. I did see a meme I
Mm-hmm.
thought was hilarious. It said, millennials, uh, our first memory was September 11th, and then nothing got better.
Nothing got better. It's fucking true, dude.
So, I mean, just so many things. But as you know, as you brought up, first Black president, there were so many
Yeah.
also incredible things, technology shifts. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it's been just chaos. And Scorpio
Yeah.
love chaos because we want to understand it and get
Right.
really, really intimate with the
Right.
chaos.
Right.
Now, the Gen Zers, they're seeing
Mm-hmm.
the effects of it and are actually seeing, like, then holding fear because of their future being in kind of the boomers and elder millennials' hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's the Pluto and Sagittarius generation.
Mm-hmm.
Shooting for
Mm-hmm.
the truth, they're going to make these changes stick. I really believe in this generation.
Yeah, I do too. I love that you brought it up, because I do bring up generational astrology a lot on this podcast, because it's so fucking fascinating. And I don't think there's enough astrologers doing it. And I understand why, you know, people want to know about themselves versus generations. But if you're a true astrologer, that generational astrology can really point us into spots. Not only that, the Pluto and Scorpio, but a lot of the millennials in our generation have that marker, Saturn, Uranus, and or Neptune in Capricorn. And that's a big indicator of the light worker within. You know, not to be woo, but it's the goddess complex. We get a little woo around here. You guys know that. But Stephen Forrest, do you know his work?
I'm not familiar.
He, you should look him up. He is this amazing astrologer. When you listen to him speak, it sounds like your grandfather is reading you a bedtime story. The way he describes astrology, and it's so palatable. Anybody listening, if you're new or you want more, highly recommend Stephen Forrest with two R's. But he did this seminar on that marker, the marker of the indigo child. You know, we've all heard of indigo children. His definition of the indigo children were us folks with that marker, the millennials that had one, two, or three of those planets in Capricorn. Me too. Yeah,
I got all three.
I got all three as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's really, really fascinating. Um, okay, cool. So now that we've talked a little bit about this, I want to know what made you decide, Shawn, to do this. So you've been in the industry for almost a decade, if not a full decade. I know for me, I think my business is going to be 5 or 6 years old in February. When I started, there wasn't a whole lot of folks doing this work. So I can only imagine when you started, like you have to push through so much shit to be, quote, taken seriously. Being a woman, being in the mystical arts, you know what I mean? And then working online when nobody was doing it. So what, I'm asking you two questions, I guess. My first question is, what made you want to go against the grain, besides the fact that you're a triple Scorpio? And number two, how was that transition?
You know, the transition's still transitioning. I'll just say that.
Yeah,
You know, it's an
yeah.
ever-changing landscape.
Mm-hmm.
But going against the grain was kind of my only option, I felt. Um,
Mm-hmm.
as a person that has had just so much trauma in my life,
Yeah,
just so
yeah,
much, I really fell pretty far behind in just like regular growing up stuff. Um,
yeah.
Like for example, I suffered from a meth addiction between 13 and 17, and that
Wow.
being able to get into colleges. So I didn't get to go
Mm-hmm.
to like the big 4 years and go away. I didn't end up, I got
Mm-hmm.
a degree in business and psychology, but I didn't have the time to do internships because I was working 3 jobs
Right.
to pay for it. So all these things, and ended up staying in the service industry up until I want to say 2016, probably. So
How old were you?
I was still in my 20s, I believe. We're about the same age.
Same.
Like I think like a
I was,
month even.
yeah, yeah. When's your birthday?
October 29th,
89?
9.
I'm 89, December 3rd, 89. So yeah, we're the same age. And that's funny that you say that. I also was in food service until my 20s. I don't know how it happened, but I was just stuck in that hole. And if you know, you know, food service is great money, but it is a black hole, honey.
And the thing of
Woo!
it, like, especially with, the surgeon tech jobs and stuff, and I,
Yeah.
I never had the option or ability to have a desk job and then have that parlay into something that could grow
Mm-hmm.
career. So I'm in
Yeah.
the service industry, and at this point, not working on my shadow at all. I was miserable,
Right. Yeah.
miserable. I hated,
Yeah.
I hated everything, and that's when I decided to pick up my tarot cards again. And
Yeah.
because I loved it so much and I wanted to share it, I started to see a vision where I could leave this prison of food service.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the
Mm-hmm.
irony is, I just got a side job working in service,
Wow.
but
Full
with a new
circle.
perspective, with
Yeah.
shadow work, and
A
I'm
new
not mad
perspective
about
for
it because I
sure.
need, yeah, I need to make ends meet right now. No shame in my game.
Yeah. No, the economy right now, that's a whole different conversation, but the economy right now is ridiculous. Believe you me, I've thought about it. And I work all sorts of different side gigs, like I work at the gym, I work here, I work there. I've definitely thought about it because it is good money. And honestly, maybe it's a little one of my toxic traits. I kind of miss it. I kind of miss the hubbub a little bit, like we got to get to table 8 right now, table 7 over here. I've been sat 3 times. Like I kind of miss it. Then at the end
Yeah.
of the night, and you're like, look at all my dollars.
And then you don't take it home with you. And then you're just like, okay, that was my job. And now I can go like
That
be a separate person. Like,
exactly.
and loving those things and like being able to have gratitude for that was something I didn't have
Mm-hmm.
either because I was just in misery. But
Yeah, yeah.
we are.
Right, exactly, exactly. So the transition is still transitioning. What does that mean? And I mean that in a way, you're somebody who has done it, right? A lot of people come into my sphere that want to do what we do. They want to create the content, they want to read professionally, they want to take clients professionally, they want to do it. And I think there's a few things to speak to here. I don't think sometimes it's fully recognized how hard it is to start a business in general. I think the spiritual community, our toxic trait, don't come for me, hoes. I think our toxic trait is that sometimes we're a bit too love and light. In the sense, when you want to start a business, you're going to have to lean into the masculine a little bit to get it. You're going to have to do the LLCs, you're going to have to do the taxes, you're going to have to get yourself on a content schedule because whether or not you hate that term, you are now a content creator. Oh my God, sorry. You are now a content creator. And I think people don't want to recognize the fact that when you decide to work online and you decide to take this seriously and you want to make money as an entrepreneur online, you're going to have to get yourself on a content schedule. You're going to have something that you got to speak about. You're going to have to create the offers. You're going to have to fine tune and streamline your medicine. You know what I mean? It's not as simple as plastering something on your socials and calling it good and then getting mad because nobody books.
No, you cannot wish your way to bookings. You can't.
Right.
I mean, listen, we love a manifestation guru, but like that's
Right.
not how it works. You got to go through the shadow if you are first of
Mm-hmm.
all procrastinating on that or having a resistance,
Mm-hmm.
and then you got to just do the damn thing. That's just the way it is. This is really tough work because yeah, you have to wrestle with all the emotions of being an entrepreneur as well.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
in terms of the transitioning situation, so yeah, it's been about 10 years, And like, yeah, I'm a pretty well known in this space.
Yeah.
But I realized there were so many things that happened that brought me to this. And I feel like my business is so connected to me that it's like, it's just really intimate because we're so entwined.
That's one thing I wanted to say, just really quick, not to cut you off, but just to point out what you said. There's so much shadow in business. You learn so much about yourself in your shadow and your kinks and where you feel guilty, where you feel shame, the money work that needs to be done. Woo! Especially if you didn't come from money. It's a lot.
I lived comfortably. Like I grew up in we were not poor by any means, but
Mm-hmm.
I had to get a job at 13 because they wouldn't give me any money.
Yeah,
So
same,
and
same. I started at 14 babysitting. I'll never forget.
so
Yeah.
you know how to hustle and get it together.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I realized is that my hustle game was great, but it wasn't really stable. There was no real family.
Mm,
So I was able to scrape my way and claw my way to the top as a content creator and be visible and known. Got really great features. Got booked out with my tarot readings. It was great. And then I was kind of just like listless about it. I'm like, okay, well, I'm just kind of reading people's tarot cards. There's no like journey I'm taking them on. There's no, I don't
right.
feel like I have a consistent thing. But
Yeah.
my books were filled. I was like, you know what? I can teach business. And I was really into it. You know, I have a business degree. Um, and I loved teaching young witches how to do what I did.
Right.
For a while, got bored with that too. I was like, I don't want to teach marketing anymore. This is so
Yeah.
boring. It doesn't
Yeah.
fill my
It wasn't calling you.
with any just ugh. And then I got sick. So this was a big thing. I got sick during COVID. I got COVID, and it highlighted that I had had unchecked asthma my whole life, and that parlayed into a chronic
Wow.
illness called POTS, which I have. But for about 3 years, because I'm on Medicaid, I was playing detective with my own health, trying to figure out what the heck.
Yeah.
So because of this chronic illness, everything kind of fell apart. And I had to restructure my business when I started to feel better. I am feeling much better now.
Thank God. Yeah.
But that journey and being sick and being so vulnerable led me to my shadow. And then it just kind of
Mm.
hit me. And this is where the transition part is happening of like, the
Mm-hmm.
shadow has carried me through so much to a place where
Yeah.
I'm so content, so peaceful, so confident. And I just want every woman to feel like this.
Yes.
And so I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? I've been through some shit. And if I can do it, I can teach. And so now
Right.
that absolutely lights a fire under my ass because at first,
Mm-hmm.
like Shawn the Witch, my brand now is the shadow. I am your guide
Mm-hmm.
to. So it's ever changing. Who knows if this will stick?
But
But for
that's what I
now,
love about business, though.
yeah.
You know, that's what I love about business is because we can evolve and we don't have to put ourselves in a box like you have to at a desk job or a corporate job or even a serving or bartending job. You're putting yourself in a box and a label and you're putting a limit on your potential. And in this space of business, we can do whatever we want. I can't tell you how many times my offers and services have moved and shifted with me, and they're getting ready to shift even more this for the rest of this year, and I'm excited about it. Um, so a somatic shadow worker, when I think of somatic, I think of somatic dance, I think of movement. Is that where we're going with shadow work, or am I totally off?
No, no, you're right. Somatic just means of the body. So what I really like
Okay.
my clients is make them feel, especially people with trauma. We don't know how to do that. We are experts at not feeling and detaching and dissociating. We had to do that for so long.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I sit and I make you feel, and it's going to be really intense. But then we introduce some somatic modalities like pressing acupuncture points to ground your central nervous system, different grounding and meditation and stretchings. Um, yeah, just incorporating the body into your shadow work.
Interesting. So is this like a one-time session, a number of weeks that somebody works with you, number of months? How does that work?
So my rule of thumb for shadow work is 2 months minimum
Okay.
because because it's a 5-step method, which includes
Right.
introduction as well, and this is stuff that you've never felt before, like I need to see you for at least 2 months. And then you can
Mm-hmm.
go month or week to week or bi-weekly or whatever after that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a process and it's not for the faint of heart. But
Mm-hmm.
it's one thing to answer a shadow work prompt where you're like, okay, like why am I
Right.
this? And then you get the answer.
Right.
Okay, well now what? Well,
Yeah,
now you got to process that. You got to feel
exactly.
it. You have to know when you're latching onto it, where you're latching onto it, how it's affecting your life still, making those changes, how you feel about those changes. And then it gets deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper until I know everything about you.
Exactly. 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 Okay, so question for you, because I get this a lot too. Who holds you? So I was saying, right? A witch always needs a witch, right? And sometimes we forget about ourselves when we're service providers. We forget, like, holy shit, like I'm fucking out of whack. I didn't realize that I had forgotten about myself until I started the TV show. And then starting the TV show and like being around all those very intense personalities and like talk about the motherfucking Matrix, bro. Matrixy is all hell. I'm like, I need to call somebody because I'm not aligning myself right now. Like I'm not doing that. And when it comes to shadow work, we do hold people's shit and it can get quite heavy. So, who holds you?
I have an incredible, incredible community. My best
Hmm.
friend in the whole world, unfortunately, she lives across the country, but we are so tight. We have
Yeah.
been together over 20 years of friendship. Um,
Oh, wow.
we fight like sisters, but we make up like sisters. I
Yeah.
absolutely love my little sister, who still speaks with my parents, has gone through therapy and holds such great space for me. And
Hmm.
having somebody that understands literally where you came from is so important.
Hmm. Yeah.
But I also have a lot of mother figures. I have a lot of really
Hmm.
deep sisterly friendships.
Hmm.
I love my support group, but at the same time, I think there's something to be said about being a shadow worker with boundaries and saying,
Yeah.
you know, it's not my stuff. I'm not going to take it on. And I
Yeah.
have empathy, obviously. Like it wouldn't work without
Hmm.
empathy, but it's not my stuff. I'm just a facilitator.
Right. Right. I love the detachment from it. And I hope that's very scorpionic of you because I feel like people listening don't get it twisted. I don't think you're being unempathetic. I think there is a point of like needing to detach a little bit because it's not our stuff. You know what I mean? And when you attach so much to somebody else's story, in my personal opinion, I think that's when you leave yourself open to energy vampires, right? They're just kind of sucking energy from you. How do you feel about that?
I completely agree. I mean, there's that, and then there's also I feel an air of professionalism. Like I take on
Yeah.
the role of basically a therapist, get into these
Mm-hmm.
sessions, and I feel like tying in that has to do with me takes away from their experience, takes away from
Right.
what they're learning. It becomes intimate, and then yeah, you get like, I mean, the person working with me is working with me because they want to fix something about their lives and have
Right.
maybe unhealthy behaviors. For me to
Right.
intertwine with that would be yes, leaving myself very vulnerable. So
Exactly.
yeah, you gotta have
Exactly.
strong boundaries. Much love, but protect yourself.
Exactly. 100%. Speaking of this conversation, what is like one or two of some of the biggest mistakes you see baby witches and mystics make in this field as they are transitioning into professionalism? Where
Mm,
it's like where it's not a hobby anymore, but like they're really trying to get there. Have you seen them make certain mistakes?
yeah, I have. There are a lot of things. I think the first thing that, I mean, really the biggest mistake is thinking that you can just do it on your own.
Yeah.
It takes a
Yeah.
village, and like I know that coaching has kind of become MLM-y and like feels weird.
Hmm.
You don't have to pay $10,000 a month for a coach. That's ridiculous.
Hmm.
But you need someone to teach you the ropes. I mean, you really
Right.
cannot judge what's going on behind the scenes by what you see on a feed. And there's
Right.
consistent messaging there. There are actual sales tactics that bring
Hmm.
the level of an entrepreneur that make
Hmm.
a lot of sense behind the scenes. But as a viewer,
Hmm.
you're just seeing it and getting excited. That's the desired response we see. So
Right.
you gotta learn that. You got to learn how to do that. You can't just whip
Mm-hmm.
it into a successful business. It doesn't work that way.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I'm super thankful for my mentors along the way because I fully agree with you. And let's talk about that a little bit because I fucking agree with you, girl. That like I firmly believe in investing. I've invested a lot of money into understanding the business and the ropes, but I also have noticed that in the spiritual community and in the coaching community, things have become a little MLM-y, where like where is the line, in your opinion, when pricing becomes outrageous? Because as I'm sure you know, one of the things that you're taught right out of the gate is your prices are your prices and nobody can fuck with your prices. But then you see somebody charging crazy amounts, like $10,000 a month. You know what I mean? Um, and then it's like, okay, but that's wild. Or like $1,500 for a 90-minute session, like stuff like that. And they're displaying that they're making money doing it. And I have air quotes for those of you that are listening to the audio because I feel like you guys know what I'm going to say. Instagram is not always true. Just because somebody is saying they have crossed the million doesn't mean they have crossed the million. So this is a very layered conversation. Your thoughts in general.
I'm stoked we're having this because if
Yeah.
Sophia loves anything, it's getting down and dirty with the tea.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so let's see. First thoughts. I mean, the price gouging is too much for me. When COVID hit, it was kind of like the beginning of the end of me teaching business because I was like,
Right.
this is outrageous. Because I got caught up
Mm-hmm.
in that too. I never really charged. I think I charged $1,000 a month was like my highest because even
Right.
that, I was like, this feels gross. Like I'm just teaching
Mm-hmm.
someone knowledge. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but then once COVID hit and finances got really real and I had to
Mm-hmm.
support myself using credit cards and I got into so much debt, I was like, you
Mm-hmm.
gotta make this shit accessible because then none of y'all are healed. Is basically
Right. Right. Yeah.
how I started thinking. And I I think that we're in this age that and we need to just make this distinction. I'm gonna just say it very blatantly. Just
Mm-hmm.
because I'm said it as well, just because someone says it on the internet doesn't make it true. There used
Right.
to be this thing of if it's in a book, it's true. No.
Right.
Authors are
Right.
people. We make mistakes. You can't take
Mm-hmm.
everything as gospel. And so,
Mm-hmm.
if you haven't done shadow work and you're very gullible and like, oh, this 90-minute session that's $1,500, it must be worth it, then
Mm-hmm.
you're really vulnerable to basically pariahs. Like I can't
Yeah.
90 minutes, $1,500. Like what could you possibly teach me that would be worth that?
Oh, I got some shit to say when we get off this podcast, girl. I got some shit to say. You guys can't know. I'm so sorry.
I
But
know, I
yeah.
because and that's the thing. It's like, okay, I make this investment, you really believe in it, blah blah, and then you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh shit, the math isn't mathing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I personally, that's what made me leave the coaching industry. I guess is I realized,
Really.
yeah, I didn't like that price gouging stuff. It just felt so icky to me. And then the big coaches are teaching like thousands of people, and it's like, okay, so we're all using the same marketing model. Like this is starting to feel really
Everybody is using,
homogenized.
yeah,
It just
right.
there's no creativity left in something so special and mystical to me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. It's just
And the one thing I've noticed too is charging a price that might feel outrageous, but you're not living up to the price tag. I forget who it was. It was a mentor of mine that said something along the lines of like promise less but over give, like give more. So you don't make these huge promises like, do you want to be in a room full of women who are scaling to the six figures right now? And then you get in the room and none of these women are even LLC'd. Like,
oh,
you know what I mean?
money back. Like
That
what?
that's the thing, exactly. And I charge about $1,000 a month. I feel like that's reasonable depending on what's happening with the container and what's going on, but promises I do not make. I'm not going to make a promise that you're going to scale to X amount of money. That's not what I'm going to do, right? And I think that's a testament to the marketing and being of integrity when you're building your business. And just because some other coach did it and told you to say it or to do it that way, and it frustrates me and it makes me, and this is where my Scorpio stellium comes out, or maybe my Aquarius moon. I think it's more so my Aquarius moon. This idea of like all this marketing. Look at me on my yacht. Look at me in my crazy car. Look at me doing, I fucking can't stand it. How about look at me in my 1.5 bedroom apartment on Zoom making money? How about that? I with a headband on my head, no makeup, still sweaty from the gym. Like I don't need to do all that. You know what I mean? And I hate that people market that way and then folks get trapped in it. Ah,
Well, everybody, I mean, I think that's why people are initially drawn to magic too, because everyone wants that magic wand. Everyone wants
yeah,
that
yeah,
trip. It's
yeah.
like that. I'm telling you, I am a witch. I've been a witch
Mm-hmm.
forever. It's not like that.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a
Mm-hmm.
lot of really, really deep, hard work. And the thing
Deep
is,
hard work, yeah.
and the thing of it is like those guru coaches, there's only like three of them and they're all fraudulent. Literally every
Mm-hmm.
one. And then you're just getting
Mm-hmm.
whatever coach you can afford is just a carbon copy of that. And they're not making
Mm-hmm.
even half of their money
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
it's trickled out. It's a bad
Right.
model.
Right.
It's a really,
Right.
really bad. And I mean, the way that I market myself now is like, look at me, I'm fucking chilling. Do you want to chill?
That's it.
Do you want to just
I'm chilling.
like, like no,
Yeah,
I'm not on the yacht. I just got a serving job again, but
literally. That's it. That's it. You know, people, I feel like people can smell bullshit if they want to see it. You know what I mean? And so one of the core values inside Starseed Shadows is authenticity because it's a value. It's important to be as authentic as possible. With all this being said, where do you see the spiritual community going, specifically in the online space, over the next few years, right? Because we're growing, we're expanding. The baby witches are coming up. I feel like, we're not in our crone era yet, but it's slowly creeping. Um,
Rays coming
that's what I'm saying. Like, I wouldn't mind my crone era. Like, I've been told before by a few shamans that I'm going to be my most beautiful when I hit 40. And yeah, a few shamans at separate times in my life have told me that. And so I'm dying to find out what 40 looks like for me because my mid 30s are just like popping off. So I'm like, 40 must be pretty good.
So here's the thing. I'll pause you there. Are you not so much hotter than you were in your 20s? Now in
Yes,
your 30s?
that's so right. So much hotter.
We were sold such a lie.
We were sold such a, like, I'm so much hotter. I have so much more money. I'm way more relaxed. Like
Like,
I
like
my
bring me
20s
back.
were a blur.
Oh, for real.
A
Love
fucking blur.
that.
Oh my God, a fucking blur. I'm on my grown woman shit and I fucking love it. But yeah, so where do you think the spiritual community is going? Because we are expanding, and then there is this, duality. We live in this dual world, right? Earth school is dual, as above, so below. And so there is this like weird space where people are moving into these quote MLMs. And then there's this other space where there are tons of amazing individuals like ourselves and other people I've had on the Goddess Complex that are doing amazing work, really beautiful personal development work that is of integrity. What happens next?
So I see this splintering off. I feel like the niches are niching at this
Mm-hmm.
point. You know,
Mm-hmm.
everybody's got their own kind of thing. A really weird thing that I see in the spiritual community is the surgence of alt-right beliefs.
Oh my God, I know.
Like, what happened
What is
here?
going on?
Like, how you turned so far left, you made a U-turn.
I
Like,
know.
how? So, and I'm like, okay, so you're clearly not doing the work because you're in a cult, bitch. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
so
I've
there's
noticed it too.
that. And I feel like that is one extreme, right? Splintering
Mm-hmm.
the alt-right weirdness. Then there's the
Mm-hmm.
road people who are like trendy, you know? It's like, okay, let me try this
Mm-hmm.
out, cute, blah, blah, but they don't really have the
Mm-hmm.
tenacity to like really put into
Mm-hmm.
practitioner.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you have fraudulent people, which
Right.
they end up falling off. Also, like, I don't know, you look at any cult leader, they use some sort of mysticism. There's always going to be
Yeah.
that also.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but for the practitioners that are ethical and
Yeah.
work hard and want to stay in this space and this is where they feel they belong, I feel
Mm-hmm.
like there's going to be hyper niches, just really, really
Mm.
niches. And I think that people are coming to us with a better understanding of who they are to begin with. Like they do a lot of
Right.
research on their own. So you have to know exactly what you can do to help facilitate their healing and growing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I hope you guys out there are listening to that. I like the idea of being hyper niche and feeling hyper niched because one of the things I teach, and I'm sure you can get behind this, is like somebody's booking with you because they want your magic. That's why, because people get all like, there's so many tarot readers. Is there room for me at the table? Of course, there's room for you at the table because there's nobody like you at the table. And so I love the idea of getting really, really fundamentally clear on who you are speaking to and what magic you do deliver. I think that's very, very, very fucking important. And one thing you said earlier on about the somatic shadow work was you had gone through a few different phases, right? Or a few different iterations of witchy wisdoms. And when you got to the somatic shadow work, you were like, holy shit, I can see clearly now the rain is gone. That was how I felt when I like brought in the branding component of teaching baby witches branding and how to brand themselves. I have done the tarot, done the astrology. I still take on shadow work clients, and I kind of fell into this work. I also have a business degree. I fell into this work and I loved it. I was like, brand colors, mission statements galore. What's your magic? Let's talk about it. You know what I mean? And so I do think there's a space for all sorts of folks who are doing this work. And I think the issue here is we don't want to be carbon copies. And we don't want to follow what somebody else is doing because they're saying that their model made the money. We want to find your own brand voice, your own brand identity, you know?
And I to second that, I think that is the importance of building your personal brand because yes, as
Yeah.
I mentioned the many iterations of my business, I would
Mm-hmm.
be able to transition so seamlessly if I didn't build the foundation of a personal brand. Because people know
Yeah.
I'm Shawn Engel, so no matter what I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing, there's going to be a baseline of people that are interested.
Exactly. Exactly. That's a very, very, very good point. And to kind of flesh that out a little bit, the differences between like the personal brand and the business brand, and then how they come together, I think is really important to note. It's like Ashley and then Starseed Shadows. And they can be separate, but they can also be the same. Ashley is Starseed Shadows. Starseed Shadows is Ashley, but Ashley might be doing other things that are involved with Starseed Shadows, but it's still Ashley. How would you define the difference between a personal brand and a business brand?
Hmm. It's interesting because I think a personal brand is a business brand in a way.
Yeah, I
It is
agree. Yeah.
persona, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not Witchy Wisdoms 24/7. The other
Right.
amount of time I'm sleeping with my cats or
Right.
something.
Right. 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 Right.
I mean, really, honestly, I am always like this.
Yeah,
But,
I love it.
but
I
I feel
love it.
that a personal brand is where you can be authentic, and
Yes.
your authenticity drives your business.
Sales.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mm-hmm.
that's how at least it makes sense in my brain.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense to me. People want you. They don't want this cookie cutter version of you. You know what I mean? They want us. That's what it is. They want the real, raw, honest version of us. And
Well, that's
go
the
ahead.
thing. They want mess. People want to see you be messy. And I don't think, I mean, because we have, the highlight reel of Instagram as it is,
Mm-hmm.
people don't necessarily want that. They don't trust it. They don't believe it. People want to
Mm-hmm.
see you in your power. And that also means you as a vulnerable person. That doesn't mean you
Mm-hmm.
have to go on TikTok and film yourself crying every day. Like,
Right. Because
don't.
that gets on my nerves too. All the fucking crying reels. It's like, girl, did you literally make yourself cry? And then hold on, let me get my phone. Let me get my phone. What's trending right now? Like,
But,
God,
you know, I mean,
I hate it.
you tear up when you're telling a story fine. But also, like, when you tell, it's really about telling your story. People want to hear your
That's it.
tenacity. They want, and they really, that's where the authenticity is. They want to see how you speak. It doesn't have to be anything crazy and quirky. Like, you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to be like
Mm-hmm.
that one girl with that one thing that's so
Yeah,
rare.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Show up and be you. That's it.
Right. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, so true, so true. Shawn, okay, this has been great. Tell the people, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to ask you. I definitely want to talk more about the alt-right stuff. Maybe I'll have you on again when it gets closer to the election. I just had somebody on. By the time you guys are listening to this, oh, nope, this episode airs after yours. But I just had somebody on, a gentleman, friends, talking about the divine masculine and the male role in spirituality. And he is this Louisiana boy who lives in Texas, and he's so fucking woo. I love it. And literally, I'm like, I have to ask. And I was like, so have you heard the theories that Trump is a light worker? I just had to. I just directly. So, oh my fucking God, what is
In
happening in this
what
world?
world? Well, what
And
version of
like, what the
America
fuck
are
are
you
they talking
watching?
about? It like creeps me out. Like whenever that shit like hits my For You page, I'm like confused. I'm just confused at it. So if anybody has a problem with that, unfollow me now because I'm confused at it. But you guys will have to wait to hear what his response was. And it is a very interesting response. But Shawn, tell the people, how can they work with you if they want to do some serious headfirst shadow work with a triple fucking Scorpio?
Well, the best way to
Whew.
do that is to head to witchywisdoms.com. I just updated my webpage with like a million bajillion free things. So if
Okay,
you're not
fantastic.
quite ready to jump in the waters yet, I have a quiz on there. I have prompts. I have really moderately priced digital products, like all under $100. There's so many ways to work with me, and it's all there. So go there and hang out and get some free stuff.
Fuck yeah, I absolutely love it. Yeah, really quick, with some of the biggest shadow work transformations I've had have been through my marriage and my partner. And I know it's that scorpionic energy. There is something so magical and misunderstood about the Scorpio that I love. I love that deep, dark, weird shit. And when I found out my Black Moon Lilith wasn't Scorpio, I'm like, no wonder. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, from one shadow worker to another, if y'all are looking for some deep shadow work, check out Witchy Wisdoms for sure. And all of your links will be in the show notes. You guys already know the drill. Leave us that 5-star review wherever you're listening. Share the episode with a friend, with your mama on the gram. Tag us, and we will see you in the next one. Ciao, ciao
Bye.
for now. Hello, friends. I hope you loved today's episode. Make sure you share it with a friend, share it with somebody that you love, and tag me on the gram at AshleyMichelle90day and let me know your thoughts. Leaving that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify is literally what helps this work get to the right people. As you may or may not know, we are in the middle of a spiritual revolution, and us being able to get our hands on resources like this podcast and others is what is literally going to make the world go round. So do me this favor and please leave me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and share the episode with somebody you love. It really, truly does mean the world to me. I love you so very much, and I will see you in the next one.